Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to today's podcast, Mistresses Behind the Myth. We're back and we're better than ever. And here's Alyssa, my co host. Hi, Alyssa.
Hey,
Lovely to have you here.
good to be here. Hey, mortals.
Hello, mortals. We're bringing you the all star episode today. So come on, come in, come on, come all, come all. Sorry, come one, come all.
Oh, yes, we have got some big things planned for you guys today. Oh, my goodness, there's
Oh,
so much.
definitely. We're going to have fun today. I can promise you that. We can guarantee you.
With that being said, do you want to get right into it?
Yes, let's jump right into our case.
All right. So today's podcast is a special theme. So we got a special intro for you guys. So my name is Detective AJ Scream, and I am here with my partner in crime, solving Detective Petite Sweets. We've temporarily given up our careers as performing podcasters to become private investigators. The location, Greece, a place where millions of stories over time have been told to explain life for people's entertainment. All the world is a stage, and a stage is a world of entertainment. Every story, black and white, with a hero fighting for the right and an evildoer causing mishap wherever they go, only to be defeated by our beloved hero. But life isn't so black and white, you see. What if the good guys were just misunderstood pawns in a game played by tyrants, and the villain was the victim? People pay good money to see and read black and white stories about crimes in life when the real thing is going on out there and right here for free, and the curtain never comes down. And sometimes the cases are not as closed as they appear. That's where we come in. Where where there are black and white smudges, we will be there to blur the lines and highlight the gray spots. This is our own special smidget called Mythical Crimes, where we find out who actually done it.
And disclaimer, we have a disclaimer. We have a disclaimer specifically to those who are, coming in here and we're talking about all these legal stuff. We don't have any law practicing degree. We don't even have a degree in law, period, except for Alyssa. She has certification in criminal justice, but in business.
That's not criminal justice. No, it's not criminal justice at all. I do not have any certification in criminal justice. It's business law.
Oh, business law. Sorry, I misread your certificate.
It's cool, but yeah, that's just a disclaimer for those of us in the audience that might actually be law students or actually practicing law. We're going to be treating Medusa's story today as a reopened closed case, because we think there's a lot more to the story than there seems. But at the end of this, of course, we're going to deliver a verdict. But please, those of you who are in law, do not come at us too hard. We did the best
exactly.
we could.
If you're nitpicky or just in general like to catch mistakes, well, this is all fantasy. It's all, like we said, mistresses behind the myth. Highlight myth. So everything we do today is part of a made up branch. Really, it's all fantasy. It's nonfiction. It's fiction, and we're trying to combine myth with a little bit of true crime. So we're basically trying to catch people. We're trying to catch criminals in myths. So whatever law practicing in the United States or from wherever you guys are from, please don't apply it in this situation. Thank you. And
or
we're
if
going
you
to
do,
this.
Or if you do, please leave it in the comments, because I actually would like to know how that applies. That would be interesting.
For
please
fun.
Be kind and respectful, though.
Yeah, for fun. We want to do everything in entertainment, but yep. And I'm going to go ahead and put up our crime board.
I'm going to go ahead and start us off. So as you've probably guessed, the open and shut case of Medusa, it is not all that it seems. And just to get you guys kind of caught up, we're going to start off first by solving this mystery backwards. So we're going to start off today with our crime scene. So the place where Medusa was murdered, where she was beheaded. If you do not know the original story, you're about to find out. So if looks could kill, you would be dead and most definitely turned to stone. Medusa is a monstrous female. She definitely puts the woe in woman. She's feared by all men on the battlefield, off the battlefield, and of course, she is of course, this is of course the story of the hunt for her head, which someone actually did succeed in giving, basically. So the crime takes place in a garden. It is actually called the Garden of Stone. I think that actually is what the name actually translates to. It was once a beautiful garden, and now it is basically the graveyard to all men who even dare to come at Medusa. It's crazy.
Yes, basically it's a cemetery, but for stone people. People have been turned to stone. They basically died, but they died in a very statutory way. Yeah.
Yeah. So of course, so this is of course where our crime takes place, and of course we've got the usual. We've got a dead Medusa who is now beheaded.
Crime scene. It is a crime scene.
And we've also got some, and just to give you a little bit of background on this garden and this crime scene, this place where it's taking place. So in this garden is actually somewhere in the Mediterranean on an island. It is an island of gorgons. So Medusa actually, if you don't know what a gorgon is, please refer to the pictures. Of course, she's got hair of snakes. Some people even describe her as having tusks of sort and having scaly skin. It's basically snake in human form gorgons. But funny enough, she's recognized all over the world. She's got very different, there are a lot of different people that have different ideas of what she's supposed to look like, what she's supposed to represent. In most places, she is someone to be feared. She's used in little kids' stories. You know, if you don't eat your veggies, Medusa will turn you to stone.
Yes.
You can even see her in some countries. They put her on in prominent places in their houses, on the kitchen stove, whatnot, used in stories. In some places, she's actually even viewed as a protector. Gorgon actually means, I think Gorgon means guardian, right?
It does. It does mean guardian. And Medusa and Medusa being the Gorgons. Medusa is part of the Gorgons. Snake people being put on all these objects in your home, or I believe they even wear, they even have some kind of symbol of her when they go into battlefield. Men of the past, soldiers, would go into the battlefield wearing some representation of her. It could be a pendant, it could be something on their armor, just something. So they have that representation, and it should be a protection. It's kind of like a protection ward, if that's the right word. And it protects them in fatal situation.
Oh yeah, because her Medusa was one scary chick. Not only does she have the power to petrify you and turn you to stone, of course there's the snakes on her head, which that in itself is pretty terrifying. Venomous snakes for
very powerful.
Attack you at any point. Some people, there's lots of different depictions of her. There's some people that say she had claws, a scaly hide. You can find tons of depictions, and of course, the fact that she's even she's just a very terrifying being.
And can I add something? Can I add something to that very quick before we move on? You mentioned that she is used in the home a lot, and she is like the symbol of death. But she is that kind of symbol where you use her, even though she's the embodiment of death, but you use her to ward off evil. Like Alyssa just said, her name means guardians. So she is guarding the home, even like she is one scary chick. So she is used to scared off other less evil, or even anything that's a little bit frightening, in a way that's like, oh, if you put it on the stove, you can keep children from messing it up. Or like what I just said with is something bigger, something like going into the battlefield. She can protect you on the battlefield against, the enemy, the evil. And it's been used a lot throughout ancient Mediterranean in general. Some people, some famous people like Alexander the Great would use Medusa as a symbol of protection on his armor. And I actually have a picture of that.
Yes, of course. And I think it does. Just before we move on, I know we gotta go, but I think it says a lot that she's so terrifying that just looking at her turns you to stone. You know, they say the eyes are windows to the soul, and I feel like she really brings out the worst fear, especially in a male dominated era, because this
Yes.
is about our strong females. I think she, especially when what we're going to find out later, she represents the fear, the strength in a female that possibly they were quite afraid of back then. We can get into that more later, but I feel like just looking at her, that says a lot. It's more than just, oh, she's hideous and she's terrifying. There's a lot to be said with the power to petrify someone just by looking at them. But either way, so moving on, of course, we've mentioned the crime scene. We've mentioned that where it takes place, the Garden of Stone. But why was she killed?
Such a mystery. That's why we have our team here. Detective AJ Scream and Petite Sweet on case.
Oh yes, and when we're talking about why she was killed, if, as we've mentioned, she is a very revered figure. She's very popular too, and she's very powerful. Having all that power has, of course, made her a target in this case. It's kind of like a rite of passage at this point, as a big strong male hero, to be able to take out the infamous and just all powerful Medusa.
Of course. It's like a fitness test. It's like they're running in the Olympics and they just run to her graveyard and wanted to kill her and then become a part of her Garden of Stone. Oh, how shallow.
Oh yeah, it's celebrated. It is a big accomplishment. If you manage to take down the bewitching, the Medusa and her bewitching gaze, you are big man right now. So
of course, all men has failed until now. That's why we're here at the crime scene.
Oh yes, until now, every man so far has failed until now, until we meet Perseus.
Oof.
So we mentioned that we have the crime scene, we have the why someone would want to kill her, we have the why, we have the where, now the who. Perseus.
I think it's definitely him. It's definitely that guy.
You would think that. Of course, he is on the chopping block.
Of course.
Her head is missing, and he is technically,
he's holding her head.
He's the one holding the head.
He's holding her head. Like, I mean, I definitely think it's him. It's totally him.
Well, you would think that. All evidence points to Percy with the mirror and the head in hand, but we have done our research.
We have.
We think that we might have a lot more suspects than what may seem the most obvious answer here.
Okay, so we're on suspect number 1, Percy, but not Percy Jackson.
Yes, when we say Percy, we mean this. We are not
Perseus.
We are not talking about this Perseus. No Percy Jackson here. We are not talking about Percy Jackson.
Percy Jackson is a pop culture figure. He was made in the movie. He's supposed to be the son of Poseidon. He has no tie to ancient myths. So definitely not Percy Jackson. So keep in mind, people, when they say Percy, do specify either it's the traditional one or the pop culture one. But yes, moving on.
Yeah, well done to them for getting that story out there. And if you do know the Percy Jackson series, not hating on it, but that is not the Percy we were talking about today.
Exactly.
So let's dive into Perseus. Perseus as a character. What is his story? And of course, his story directly ties with Medusa. So if you haven't been following up until this point, or if you're a little confused, don't worry. That's going to go away as soon as we get this done. So Perseus is... So, of course, Perseus' story starts, like most stories in Greek myths, it starts with a prophecy. And, of course, we've got, so it starts off with the prophecy being given to a King Acrisius, who is the king of Argos. And as usual, when anyone goes to the oracles, they are giving a sign that, oh my gosh, you're going to be doomed. One of your children is going to murder you. And in this case, King Acrisius is told that his grandson is going to murder him. So he does the only logical thing that anyone would do. Simple solution. He locks his childless daughter, Danae, in an underground cellar. In some stories, it's a tower. I would honestly like to believe he chose the tower because, oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
tower. I think it was a tower. He locked her up there like Rapunzel, which is domestic abuse. No, excuse me. Yeah, that's definitely domestic abuse. That's one count. Keep going.
Yeah, Julie's not a fan of King Acrisius. I mean, none of us are, but she especially doesn't like him.
Yes, very much. I'm going to
So
charge him with everything I can.
so King Acrisius, of course, finds out that his grandson is going to murder him in the future. That's what the oracles are saying. So he locks his childless daughter in a cellar or in a tower in some cases, and he leaves her there to die, which, oh my gosh, that is so extreme. And so of course, so enter stage right, Zeus, the king of the gods. And if you have been following us so far, you know that we are not very big fans of him. And every time he shows up, I mean, it's pretty
Something happens.
self-explanatory. Something bad always happens. Someone's always getting knocked up. It's kind of Zeus's thing. So you know where this is going.
Yeah, something happens to a woman specifically. When
Yeah.
Zeus showed up, some lady is getting knocked up. Some lady is getting into an arranged marriage. Some lady is warming his bed. Something like that.
And of course, Hera is never too far behind to punish them. But in this case, of course, Zeus being the absolute being Zeus, he is not going to let a little thing like unwanted solitary confinement stop him from having his way. So of course he turns into a shower of gold just so he can get to Danae. And of course he impregnates her, and afterwards he leaves, and you best believe he didn't leave any child support with him. So
he impregnates her while she's being locked up. Like, I'm like, he is literally standing in his palace from heaven looking down and be like, oh, a damsel in distress, I must go comfort her. And then he leave with a baby, giving her a baby with no child support.
Yeah,
and
he kind of just sees her from Olympus, and he's like, wow, she's fine. Oh, what's that? She's locked up? No matter. Hold on. Let me just get the
let me just transform. Yeah, let me transform myself and rain gold light through her window and go in there and make love to her.
No, it's by the way, light. He literally turns into a shower of gold. Doesn't leave any of the gold, by the way.
Like a meteor shower. Like a meteor shower. Like he just go in and just made love to her, which is a common theme in mythology for women to be impregnated by anything. Like people get impregnated by the wind, by sun, like lightning, thunder, whatever it is, anything. And I just feel like I don't know. Maybe it's just to enhance the supernatural of the gods or something. But
yeah, because it's usually not really the element that is impregnating them. It's usually some kind of deity that takes form and takes that form and decides, he wants to hook up, and so that's the way they choose to do it. I mean, I'm gonna give him props because, and this will be the only time, well, no, probably one of two times where I give Zeus props, because I'm not supporting him. I don't like that he did that, but like, the gold idea was kind of clever. I'm personally mad that he didn't leave her any of the gold. That's the least you could have done. Not that it would have done her much good.
Yeah, it would have done her any good. It would not have done her any good. I actually have a story about this. You guys know Alexander the Great, right? His, of course you guys do. I've been speaking about him forever. But his mother claims that he's also a son of Zeus. His mother is she's the princess of, I think it's Epirus. Yeah, I think she's the princess of Epirus, and she did not have a good marriage with his father, the king of Macedonia.
Most women back then.
No, she did not have a good marriage with him. He's not a good guy in general. So yeah, she did not have a good marriage with him. So when she became pregnant, she wanted to make sure that her son Alexander the Great get the throne. So she did start telling people that Zeus came to her in a form of a snake and made love to her and leave her pregnant with Alexander the Great. So Alexander the Great is like a demigod.
And that is a fun fact for you guys. Alexander the Great, and for those of you who don't know, because I mean, she does mention it a lot, but for those of you who don't know, or you might not be as into history, Alexander the Great was a conqueror across the
Yes.
He was very well known in history. You guys should definitely check him out if you have time. But literally,
He
So
has a
yeah,
great story. He has a great background. Do look him up. It's great. But yeah, we can't.
history and mythology literally collided.
Yeah,
You get to see a real life application of people using
it
mythology to
goes hand in
literally
hand.
explain real life events. It's crazy. But
Yeah, it's really is crazy. But yeah, back to
right,
Perseus.
Perseus's story. So continuing from where we left off, Danae is now pregnant with little baby Perseus in a cellar or tower, whichever story you are reading. And of course, Acrisius does not take this well. He comes back later, I guess, to check if she's dead or not. Like, hey, are you still alive? Yes. Oh, okay. I guess. And so, of course, he sees Danae with baby Perseus, and he doesn't take this well. And unfortunately, he can't just kill them, because even though he does think about it, because he's like, oh, she informs him kindly that he is the son of Zeus, and if you would like a lightning bolt not to be stuck up where the sun doesn't shine, you will not kill my son. So
I love it. I love it. I love that. I love that idea. I really want that to happen. It didn't. It
oh,
didn't.
no.
It didn't, by the
So
way. But I'd love that to happen. Thunder.
oh my gosh. Leave Acrisius alone. He's not even important in the he's not he's important to the start of the story, but he's not who we're talking about. So Acrisius, of course, once again, like any logical person would do, he does the only thing he can do, and straight up murdering does not work. Even though if he really wanted to try straight up murdering, he should have just started with the daughter. But I guess that's also probably because if we think about it, Greece had a kind of a no rule. If you go and look them up in history, Grecians did not mess with harming, killing, or anything else really even remotely negative towards family. They had a big thing about family, so I guess that was why he couldn't directly kill her. But either way, so he does what any smart person, logical person would do, and he decides that, you know what, since I can't just straight up kill you, I'm going to take you and your baby, and I'm going to stuff you both into a trunk, and I'm going to throw you into the ocean, and maybe that will kill you.
Um, when she says a trunk, she means a very weird, a very poor looking boat.
No, I mean a trunk. He took them, and actually in the story, he actually puts them in a trunk, as in box that closes with a lid that can he locks them in a trunk and literally throws them in the ocean, and it's just like, have a nice trip.
Oh, then that's a different story. No, that's a different story from what I heard. I heard it was a really weird looking boat.
No. In most of the original stories, it is an actual trunk. He literally
Oh,
locks them in a trunk and throws them into the ocean. It's crazy.
okay. So when they got into the ocean, of course, with the help of Zeus, he cleared the clouds and pushed them onto an island that they can chill for a while. Maybe like how many years? 10 years? Couple of years?
A good more than 10 years, because he's like a full grown Perseus is like a full grown teen by the time the story really gets underway.
Yeah.
So
He pushed them onto an island and they lived there for some time. Mother and son just having their own time and chill.
gotta give Zeus props for that. I mean, he usually causes all of this drama, but I mean, he didn't completely leave this son out to dry, so we got to give him credit for that.
I'll think about it. Continue.
Anywho, so like she says, they've been chilling on the island of Seriphus. They're having a great time. That is until King Polydictes shows up. What is it with the kings today? Polydictes, he is the king of Seriphus, and he basically shows up one day and gets an eyeful of Perseus's mom and deems her a total babe, and basically says that, wow, he of course has the reaction that most men in these stories had back then. He's like, oh, she's a babe.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta make her mine. She is going to be my queen, whether she wants to or not. And depending on which story you read, it is very obvious that this was not going to work. But in most stories, it is made quite obvious that the mother does not want to marry King Polydictes. She does not want to be with him in any way, shape, or form. He kind of just says, you're going to marry me because I say so, which Percy, of course, does not take well.
Of course. Of course. That's why. That's exactly why he should not be okay with it, because that guy's a jerk. He is much older than her. She even though she has a kid, she is still a pretty young princess.
I mean, even
She
without
was
the age
pretty
gap,
young.
Polydictes was known to be a pretty bad king. He was pretty awful.
Yeah, he was. She was still another young woman, because I mean, of course, they had kids so early back then. Yeah. I mean, we can probably charge Zeus with what is it?
We're not charging him yet. Well, we're not charging him yet. We haven't gotten to his part. Remember, this is Medusa's.
I'm still trying to prosecute him. Just yeah, just come on now.
You'll get your chance. You'll get your chance. Wait for
Okay,
it. Wait for
go
it.
ahead. Go ahead.
All
Go
right,
ahead.
so you'll get your chance. Don't worry. So keeping with the story. So Polydictes, of course, he's coming for Perseus's mom, pretty strong. Perseus's mom is having none of that, and neither is Perseus. And King Polydictes decides that he likes his nose screwed on correctly, and he would like it not to be broken. So he, of course, backs off for a little bit. So he does this, of course, like I said, because he's not trying to anger her son. He's not trying to fight her son, because Perseus was a pretty jack dude, and he was not playing games. So he decides to do the only reasonable thing. He gets planning, he gets conniving, he gets ready, and decides that he needs Percy out of the picture. What is the best way to do that? So the best way to do that would be, of course, to kill him indirectly. And so he comes up with this plan and basically tells all his I think it was all his what do you call them?
Citizens.
His citizens. He tells them that everyone is to bring him a really expensive and rare gift, because, you know, why not? He's just such a great guy, right? Air quotes. So he tells everyone to bring him expensive gifts. And of course, Perseus, being from nothing and picked up, him and his mother were literally picked up by fishermen on the island of Seriphus. They have nothing. He has nothing to give. They have nothing to give. And so Polydictes, being the butthole that he is, tells Perseus, you know, if you have nothing to give, you know, I can think of something that you can give me. And he basically tells him that I want the head of Medusa.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are just now coming in or you haven't been here, we have described Medusa. She is a fearful gorgon, hair of snakes, petrifying glance that turns every man into stone, fangs, tusks, scales, horrifying to look at.
Yep.
It works. And so
he's basically sending him on a death mission.
Pretty much. Perseus is a one-man suicide squad right now.
Yes, basically. He just go right out and be like, I'll bring you the head. Like, and just he just went. He just go. Like, he just out on this journey and be like, it's another Tuesday, I guess.
Pretty much. I mean, of course, per usual with Greek heroes, he's not alone in this. As he's walking on the road, of course, you know, there's got to be some godly intervention. And so Deus Ex Machina, in walks Hermes, the messenger of the gods. If you don't know, he is the messenger of the gods and a god himself, also another child of Zeus. He brings Perseus winged shoes and the sword of Zeus. That just sounds so cool. It's the sword of Zeus that he brings him to take down Medusa. And hold your horses before we keep going. That's not all the help he gets. Later on the road, he also meets up with Athena. And Athena gives him a literal shield. And this is a shield and mirror. A shield that basically shines like a mirror. It's basically a shield that's been polished so well that it shines like a mirror. You can see everything through it.
Yeah.
So and this is going to be important for later. So guys, remember this. So far we've got Hermes with the winged shoes and the sword of Zeus that he's giving to Perseus to help slay Medusa. Athena, the goddess of battle tactics and wisdom, has given him a shield that shines like a mirror. And the last piece of help he gets comes from none other than Hera. You guys are not, I did not even believe this when I was reading this. Hera actually, well, it wasn't Hera specifically, but her nymphs actually helping Perseus. They give him a sack to keep Medusa's head in because as we've mentioned, Medusa, not only does she have the power to turn you to stone, but her powers work dead or alive. If it wasn't a kick enough if it wasn't kick enough in the face that she has the power to turn you to stone, whether she is dead or alive, if you look at her, you are doomed.
Yes. So if anyone, basically, the reason why everyone wants her head is because if they chopped off her head, they will have the ultimate weapon to defeat anyone they want. They can defeat armies of people with just one glance. It's a very powerful weapon. Whoever got it, they are dominating the world. So that's what I'm saying. Perseus did it. He definitely wants it.
Look. I mean, Perseus right now, he looks like he's just kind of looking out for his mom right now. You know, he's been told to do something by the king, and of course the king is trying to kill him. It is looking pretty bad for him though, because right after he gets these tools, the sack from Hera's nymphs, the mirror from Athena, the sword of Zeus and winged shoes from Hermes, he of course completes his task going to Medusa. And because he is a pragmatic hero, in some stories, you know, they do have an awesome duel in a fight. He walks backwards with the shield and the mirror in order to see her. He doesn't actually look into her eyes. He uses the shield as a mirror in order to see her, and closes his eyes and chops off her head.
So he's like a tactical murderer here. Okay, great.
I mean, no, in some cases he's even more pragmatic than that. He literally, in some cases, he uses the shield to see her, and he sees her sleeping, and he kills her while she's asleep. In some stories.
That sounds like a coward, but okay.
Yeah, you know what? You call it coward, I call it clever. If most heroes actually off to their victims and targets like that.
Okay, then he's a clever murderer. Great. Move on.
Okay, yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but hold your horses. So this looks bad for our boy Perseus. He is literally holding Medusa's head in a magical sack, right? He has cut it off. He has won the day, and of course, he goes back to Acrisius having won. And Acrisius, for those of you who are wondering how this story ends for him, not Acrisius, I'm sorry, Polydictes, the dude who wanted his mom. For those of you wondering how this ends for him, well.
I'm smiling. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's just say he was caught between a rock and a hard place. Perseus literally shows up to the court where he is, of course, in the midst of forcing his mother to marry him because, you know, her big strong son is out of the picture. So you kind of have no room to say no to me anymore. So he kind of crashes the wedding, pulls out Medusa's head, tells his mother to close her eyes, and turns Polydictes to stone. He even ends up fulfilling the prophecy for how he kills Acrisius, his grandfather, who threw him and his mother into a trunk. And while we're not going to discuss that now because we've got to get back to solving this case, you should definitely check out how he kills Acrisius and exactly how the prophecy is fulfilled. It is the most hilarious ending. You will literally laugh your behind off. I know I did. Yeah, and it's so funny because that actually brings up like I've literally heard this before. It's some kind of it's a saying that goes around, and I can't remember where it's from, but it's saying that one often, I think it's probably from Kung Fu Panda, actually. I think Nguyen said it, but he said that one often meets his destiny on the path to avoid it, and that is, I think it
is Kung Fu Panda. Basically karma. Okay, karma.
Pretty much. Basically, don't mess with time. You're messing with destiny. You're messing with things that are supposed to happen, and by doing that, sometimes you just end up bringing about the problem faster.
Exactly.
So Perseus, of course, he looks bad. He's holding the head. He's got motive. But as far as I'm concerned, his motive is basically moral ignorance. He just happened to be at the wrong place in the wrong time. And in my opinion, he was a bit manipulated by the deities, because if you think about it, he probably would have died like every other man that had gone into the garden had he not had the tools given to him by Hera, Athena, etc. Had he not had the tools to kill Medusa. So I don't think our boy Perseus is as guilty as he seems. He was on a clueless suicide journey, and he was given the tools to succeed, which brings us and I think it's worth noting that the gods seem a little bit too enthusiastic. If you notice throughout the story, they're just meeting him on the road. This boy is literally headed to death, and they're just popping up one after the other. I don't think I've ever seen a hero get this much attention and help from the gods in one sitting. Not even Heracles got this much help in one sitting for obvious reasons, but
I
so
mean,
I think the gods.
yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I really do think that in a way that it is because of Zeus' influence. Because I mean, he's the king of gods. He can tell anyone to go and help this guy out. And at the same time, people want to get rid of Medusa. They do.
Yeah, but I mean, Athena, that's a little out of left field. Hermes, I can see, but Athena and definitely Hera helping him, that is far out of left field.
I mean, her nymphs
She hates
help
Zeus's
him.
children.
I mean, her nymphs help him. She didn't really do it. She's like, whatever, just go help him. So
Okay.
yeah.
Good point.
But yeah, we need to move on to suspect number 2.
Yeah, so suspect number 2, they seem a little too enthusiastic to help him, and I think that's a little suspicious. So suspect number 2. Suspect number 2 is a quadruple whammy. We got We've got the nymphs, Hermes, and Zeus. Okay, so remember how we said this seems a little bit too sus that they're helping him out so much. So for once, Hera is absolved of anything that's really going on here, because like I agree with you, Julie. She really didn't help. It was really her nymphs.
Yeah.
But I will say this is the first time we've had where Zeus, it's not all Zeus's fault, although it is worth noting that he had the sword of Zeus with him, so he had to have some kind of hand in the death of Medusa.
He's definitely the murderer.
Okay, we could say that, but then I mean, he does have motive. His motive, of course, would be to protect his son, because for all the crap he does, and how horrible he is as a husband, he is a pretty good father in this case.
Yeah, it's a lot of motive here. He impregnated the girl and then leave no child support, so he's trying to make up for it, I guess. He definitely has a motive.
I mean, well, maybe Perseus was just his favorite kid.
We can just blame all this on Zeus and then case closed.
We could, but then we'd also have to explain Hermes giving him the winged shoes. And if you don't know, Hermes, as the messenger of the gods, usually his kind of his motif, the thing that you see that usually defines him, is a staff with snakes, but it's also his winged shoes. And the fact that Perseus is in possession of winged shoes that he could not have possibly have gotten by himself, can't get to Olympus in any way, he's from rough beginnings. I think our boy Hermes might have had a part in this too. He provided not only the weapon that was given to him by Zeus, which is the sword of Zeus, but he also provided the winged shoes. And winged shoes aren't really in Zeus's department.
You know what? This is way too much premeditated murder. Like, what is going on anymore? So we have Zeus, we have Hermes, we have the nymph, we have Hera. Well, her nymph. And
her nymph that gave him the sack that helped control it. That's also a problem.
Okay, so how are we gonna put all these guys behind bars?
Well, let's keep following the trail. If we look, all things lead back to Olympus. That is, in most stories that we get from Greek mythology, all things always lead back to Olympus.
It does. But
here's the thing that's crazy. All things lead back to Olympus. It leads back to the immortals. But Medusa was mortal. What could have... Medusa was actually immortal, and this is where we're going to kind of get...
Interesting. How could she be immortal? What happened here?
Yeah, obviously she is mortal because she can die.
Oh yeah, she did die. Oh yeah, she got killed. Never mind, I forgot the case for a moment. Continue.
Yeah, she's immortal because she can die. But there's a lot of... everything leads back to Olympus. It leads back to all of these immortals who are trying to kill her, deities that are trying to kill her. And Greece was a place of monsters. Echidna, Typhon. There were the Cyclops. There were far more important monsters to be dealt with than Medusa, who is on an island, by the way. We have to mention this. The Garden of Stone is supposedly... different people trace it back to different places, but from what we're seeing most of the time, it is an island off by itself. And Medusa is not out here like the Nemean boar or the Nemean lion or the boar or anything like that or any of these other monsters. She's not over here causing mishaps. She's not running around cities turning people into stone. She is minding her own business on an island away from people, and people are coming to her. People are coming to start nonsense and trouble with her. In my opinion, I kind of think you deserve to get turned into stone if you come looking for trouble. This is not the Nemean lion who went around killing kids or eating, because that was actually one of the monsters in one of in Hercules's Greek stories. She's not doing what these other monsters are doing. She's not starting trouble. She's literally being hunted. And I mean, she can't really help that she looks at you and you turn to stone. That's kind of her. It like I said, works dead or alive. It happens.
But how did it come to
choose
be?
that.
But how did it come to be? What caused all of this? How did it come to be that she was isolated and then a monster but mortal at the same time? How is that? How does that happen?
And see, that is an excellent question. So now we're going to have to talk about who Medusa was before she became the feared Gorgon. Who was she
Ooh.
as a mortal? And
Ooh,
why is she
story
so
of her life.
Oh, yes. And why is she so important, even though she's not causing anybody any trouble? Important enough for 3 deities to help kill her.
There's a scheme here. There's a scheme. We need to know her story. Of course, the 2 detectives are on it.
Oh yes, of course. So Julie, if you wanna go ahead and start this one, we've done our research on this one.
Yep, we have done our research. Okay, the story of Medusa's life. Well, Medusa started out as a beautiful woman. She was known for her beauty. And yes, she was a human woman. She did not start out as a monster. She basically was a priestess of Athena. She was in the Pantheon or Pancreon?
Parthenon, actually.
Parthenon. Okay. She was a priestess in Parthenon, which is this huge temple dedicated to Athena, the god of tactical war. But because she was a priestess and she was so beautiful, everyone wants to possess her, especially the men, but they cannot have her. And that's where a lot of envy came from, because no one can have her. She's a priestess. And when you're a priestess of Athena, you're bound by the vow of chastity, virginity. That means no marriage, no whatever. You cannot get with anyone. You cannot even, kiss a guy or anything like that, because Athena is the goddess of war. She has nothing to do with sex. She does not have anything to do with the idea of desire. She is just...
she's literally sworn
forever
off men. She's literally all about wisdom, battle tactics, but she's completely sworn off men. I also want to mention really quickly concerning Medusa's beauty as a mortal, how gorgeous she was. I noticed in the stories when I was reading, a lot of emphasis was placed on her hair, which, like, how glowing her flowing locks, how her hair was, which makes it all the more almost all the more, I want to say, like, insulting, the fact that her hair is turned to snakes now. That's a very personal jab.
Yeah, she was a known beauty. Like, she was known. Like, men wanted to have her, but they cannot, because she's a priestess. So she cannot be treated like a regular woman, because she was bound. She was bound by her vow. She has to be a virgin for the rest of her life.
And she was a pretty good priestess. By all accounts, she was a really great priestess. So
she was a very good priestess. But of course, she's only a mortal, and she cannot escape the hand of this one ratchet guy. And this guy is known by the name of Poseidon.
Yeah, guys, surprisingly, it's not Zeus this time.
Surprisingly, it's his brother. But of course, because Poseidon one day just saw this beauty and be like, oh, I have to have her. I mean, if I want something, I have to go and get it, because I'm a manly god. There's no such thing as me not being able to get what I want. And also because he was a petty guy, because Poseidon and Athena had a little bit of a beef. Was it Athens they were fighting over?
Yes, actually, that's actually another story. But in the short version, basically, when Athens was being created or built, Zeus basically said, he basically was trying to decide on who to give Athens to. And of course, Athena and Poseidon were up for it. Poseidon's arguing that, it's near the sea and all of that nonsense, so it should be my territory. Athena's like, nah, this is going to be a place of creation, wisdom. And for all accounts, Athens historically is a place where you see a lot more of the art and culture of Greece. But
Basically.
Zeus tells them that if they want it, they got to duke it out, and so they
duke
do.
it out, duking it out in the ring, and of course Athena won, and
comes out on top.
She got Athens, and so Poseidon is, sitting in his little petty party, and of course when the chance hit, and then there's this beautiful girl, why not kill two birds with one stone? I'm gonna rape her in Athena's temple, and of course he did it. He went in there and he took advantage of this young priestess. And of course, here we have Medusa, a beautiful priestess, losing her virginity in the temple of Athena.
This is a double disrespect, of course.
Yeah, this is absolutely disrespectful. And she lost. She basically, it's considered her broken of the vow of chastity, vow of virginity. And therefore Athena was pissed, but she couldn't really do anything about Poseidon, or she chose not to do anything about Poseidon. And here we have Medusa, a rape victim. She received no mercy because she was accused of being in the wrong, because of course the god can do
because
no wrong.
Of course you've disrespected me. You are one of my priestesses, one of my best priestesses, and how dare you have sex in my domain, in my temple. You disrespect me like this. But and not even, like I said, there's an unbelievable amount of just cruelty, and not even seeing that she was not, because of course she knew her responsibilities, and in no way is she being seduced. And I've seen some stories where they say she is seduced, but it is under no circumstances was that seduced. It was made very clear that she did not want his advances, and so the fact that he takes advantage of her anyway.
There's no such thing as seduce. There's no such thing as an affair. Like literally, I forgot to tell you this, but Alyssa, I have had a conversation like this with someone in Vietnamese. Like they would tell me outrightly that, oh, I heard that Medusa and Poseidon had an affair. I was like, no. That is not the story. There is no seduction. There is no affair. It was not willing. It was a whole entire case of rape. It's basically rape. And Medusa took the fault of not being able to keep her purity. She tainted herself, and that's what Athena chose to believe. And so she condemned her, like she has sinned or something. And of course, the curse came. Athena cursed her without any warning. Literally, it was a slow and painful transition. She really wanted Medusa to feel the consequences that she inflicted on this woman. Her skin literally ripped and wrinkled. Her hair fell out and snake growth in its place, and like literally fangs and popping out of her gums, and her eyes blackened into this horrible pupil thingy that is just absolutely painful, and forever she was turned into a hideous monster.
So for those of you who need a visual, I've just posted kind of like a visual.
Yeah, exactly that.
So for those of you who don't know, actually Gorgons, if we're going historically or mythologically what they're based on, Gorgon is usually based off of it's based around a corpse. So think of it as her basically dying from the inside out. Everything's growing out. So it's basically it's a snake transformation, but it's also dying without being killed.
Yes. So Athena wanted her to be like that. She wanted to turn her into this hideous monster so that no man or god will ever be glamored by her again, by her beauty again. And she also, the reason, and I clearly know the reason why, the purpose of having her eyes turn people to stone is not so people it's not so people will look at her again. It's so that whoever comes in contact with her will be turned to stone. She basically kills everyone that she's close to, and it's basically a solitary confinement. She has condemned this woman into a world of solitary. She can never interact with the world again. She can never do anything with anyone again. That's why she's on an island by herself trying to hide from the world. because she's been turned into this monster, and then she's confined to kill everyone that she
Hence
looks
us
at.
saying that she's not your typical monster. She's not burning villages down like Typhon or stomping the universe or fighting the
Exactly.
gods. She's literally been forced to be alone. She is isolated. It's not that she wants to hurt you. It's just that if you're in the vicinity, dead or alive, the powers work. She can't help what she's
Okay.
been programmed,
Yeah.
transformed to do. It's
Definitely. Like definitely. She was confined for whatever she did not do. Like as a rape victim, she got no mercy. She lost her status. She lost her beauty. She lost her life. She couldn't even interact with anyone. She's basically punished for being raped.
Oh
Like,
yeah, and being a priestess, that did provide you a good amount of status, especially in Athens. To Athena, that's the patron goddess of their city.
yes.
So imagine that, you being so respected and held in such esteem, you being as gorgeous as she was, you losing not only your physical form, your physical beauty, but also your status, you have, if you're in
Yes.
Medusa's shoes, you have clearly lost it all.
You lost it all. Literally, Athena did not kick a woman when she's down. She kicked that woman into her grave. Like literally.
Kicked her into the grave alive, literally buried her alive. And I feel like
Basically.
that says a lot. I just want to touch on that for a minute, because Athena, it bothers me that she allowed this. Not only did she allow this to happen, because this is your temple, this is your domain, Athens is your city, you fought for it, and yet Poseidon, of all people, who she does not like, it's been said, the only person she probably hates more than Poseidon is Ares. And literally, this man was allowed to come into your home, take your servants, which I view this as kind of like a parent child relationship. Your servants and your priestesses belong to you, and they have been, one of them has been horribly mistreated, and it's been proven that you have the power to challenge Poseidon and win. So the fact that you don't stick up for her is or even try to defend her when something like this happens to her, I find that very bothersome. And I understand that it probably would be a lot more work to challenge Poseidon, her being on the pantheon and all, to have that grand scheme of things done in a courtroom against someone of equal power. But her taking it out on Medusa as a mortal who is not even on her level, that just seems very, very awful.
Well, there is a reverse way to say this. As in, Athena can challenge Poseidon. But what is she challenging Poseidon for? I mean, the whole city of Athens is different than a priestess. Because a priestess, and this has a lot to do with society rank, I believe, because this happens way too often in Greek, where a god just took advantage of a mortal. But because Medusa was a mortal, and if she challenged Poseidon over a mortal, that would just look bad on her. And that's totally messed up. I'm not saying that's right, but as messed up as it sounds, Athena can't do that. So out of people, she just had to pour all of her anger on this innocent innocent victim that just happens to be there. And I'm just have to say that I guess blame the what is it, the aristocracy? Is that the word?
The patriarchy.
The patriarchy.
Blame patriarchy.
Yeah, of course.
No, you could blame the aristocracy. I mean, I guess you could see the pantheon as an aristocracy. There's a lot of people up there, but
yeah, that is totally why I think it leads us into suspect number 3, Athena. I think she totally did it. This woman is totally out for Medusa. She even gave Perseus all of these things to help him kill her. She's definitely in on it. I really do think so.
Yeah, if you haven't guessed by now, our suspect number 3 is most definitely Athena in the murder of Medusa, because now that and I think it's probably a little easier for you guys now to imagine her as a victim, hearing her true story, because a lot of times we only get, and this is once again why we have mistresses behind the myth, we get one side of the story, and it is most likely usually not the female side of the story. In this case, we got Perseus' side of the story, the gallant hero slaying a monster. But we forget that there was once a person behind this monster, and that when we really look at it, she's not a monster at all. She's not doing anything in that case to give off the fact that she is premeditatedly or even like deliberately trying to be belligerent towards anyone. And so, like as we said, that brings us to suspect 3, Athena. She gets, can we just say, she gets the first and the last laugh at Medusa. To our greatest disappointment.
This is just absolutely, it's messed up. It's totally messed up. But it's what's the word we put it last night? We put it as, what is it? In indecently satisfying, like something like that.
This is horribly unsatisfying.
Totally, man, totally, absolutely undescribable. Freaking Athena. What were you gonna say something before this? Because
I think I should, because I understand. I mean, like, I'm upset about it too, but like,
I'm sorry.
Wow, you were getting really emotional about this. I got this.
Yeah, you're gonna say something. I don't want to jump to conclusion before you say it.
First of all, I just want to say this hurts me as a feminist. I feel very sad about this story because Athena is seen in many times. It's not her epithet. It's not her official epithet, and I believe it should be. She is seen as the female who can do it all. She is seen as basically queen, the goddess of the feminist. She is a traditional she is your traditional idea of a feminist. She is a strong woman, believes in equality. She stands on the same level as all of the men in her position, in the hierarchy of Olympus. She is I mean, she takes it a little bit to the extreme, especially with swearing off all men. That does not necessarily have to happen in order for you to be a feminist. Feminism stands for equality, not superiority. But in this case, she just disappoints me because she's supposed to be, she was known to be a protector of women and helping them out. But in this case, you have blatantly ignored a rape victim who is a woman under your care, working under your she is under your domain, and you have she's it's not even like you didn't see what happened. She told you what happened, and you are actively choosing not to believe her. And to add injury to insult, literal injury, you decide on top of her being a rape victim, rather than just casting her out, you decide that you're going to curse her. And I'm not going to lie. I mean, it is a disrespect. I understand that was a disrespect on her name, because this is actually not the first time this has happened to Athena, and it probably will not be the last. There's another story involving a woman named Atalanta and her husband, and they actually do also have sex in Athena's home. And like I said, Athena is this is not the zone for that. Athena is sorely against that. And the worst she gets is probably she and her husband for all eternity are turned into lions and made to literally carry her chariot for all of time.
I mean, at least they didn't get to at least they get to move around and not turn into a plant, I guess.
Yeah. And they stay together. I mean, she turns them both into lions. So they stay together, her Atalanta and her husband. They stay together. But Medusa gets an entire, you get isolated, you lose your status, you're killing people even though you don't want to. She gives her a very horrible power. It's absolutely awful.
Which is why I think it's her, because she did all of these things. She did all of these things, and in the end, she became a sole benefactor. Like, what's going on here?
Oh yeah, let's definitely get into that. And like I said, and before we get into that though, I just also want to touch on the fact that if it was such an insult, because that's where I was going with this Atalanta story, that she has punished other people for this before. If it was such an insult, I would consider the fact that Poseidon did this to my priestess. If I was Athena, you did this to my priestess in my domain that I fought you for and won for. I would consider that more of a scourge on on her than anything else. Because I mean, if she's basically an extension, if your priestess, which they basically were, is an extension of you, him disrespecting her is as good as you is as good as him disrespecting you. And you adding injury to insult is horrible. But like I said, disappointed in her. But I like that you brought that up. Let's move on to the next. Athena as a suspect. Let's move on to her next offense. Having the first and last laugh. We definitely got to touch on that.
She definitely is in on this. She is definitely as good as the murderer. She is definitely as good as the killer. Because I'm telling you, she did. She's onto this. She did this for a sole benefit of some sorts. Like, I don't get it.
She's putting her in a position to be killed. She literally put her into a position to be killed.
She set this whole thing up. She's premeditated all of this,
and then proceeded to help and give Perseus the tools. And it's not like she's giving him like a normal goddess. Normal goddesses, you know, they give them the tools to kill random monsters that are causing havoc. She knows Medusa intimately and personally, inside out. She was one of her priestesses. She knows exactly who she is. And she still is more than happy to give Perseus weapons to kill her. Indirectly. Not only did you make me suffer and torture me, but you're going to indirectly give someone else the tools to murder me. That is
basically she all of this. And is it a surprise? I mean, it's already been planned since the beginning. She's the planner.
Yes, obviously. But like I said, let's get back on the first and last laugh. So she has the first laugh.
Please.
Of course, she has the first laugh when Perseus. She has the first laugh when she curses Medusa. And I don't even know why she saw that as a win. I personally, like I said, I see it as a lose, because in a way, Poseidon still got away with it. He still got to disrespect you in that way as a female and as a member of the Pantheon. But you know what? It's all good. So, of course, that's the first laugh. She turns her into a Gorgon. The last laugh, however, is what happens after Perseus has murdered Medusa. After he beheads Medusa, Athena actually
he brought Medusa's head. He didn't use it for himself. He brought her head to what's the name of it? Pancreon?
The Parthenon. The Parthenon.
Parthenon. I'm so sorry. I'm so bad with phrases and vocabularies, but brought it to her temple again, and he offered it to Athena.
And Athena, of course, willingly takes the head of her ex-priestess. She takes the head of her ex-priestess as any goddess of war.
Of course she did. Of course.
She makes a really Aries move right here, let me just say. And she uses it.
She did.
It's basically a trophy.
She had that whole freaking thing planned out. She took the head, and then she inherited Medusa's power, and she became this unstoppable goddess. She got the thing she inflicted on someone in the first place. She benefited from front to end.
So she really, even to the point where you'll see a lot of Athenian soldiers on their breastplates. We said that Medusa was used and revered, and she was used as a symbol. I definitely know for a fact that
you can still see it. You can still see it very much on a lot of objects in your home. And if you guys want the breastplate, you can look at the picture that I sent of Alexander the Great earlier. And a picture of Medusa. If you go and look at the a picture of a statue of Athena, you will see that on her breastplate, on her chest plate, there is a picture of snakes, which represent Medusa. And so soldiers would copy after Athena, the god of war. If you have something that the god of war is wearing, it represents the same thing, and you're going to get protected. And so she got the first and the last laugh for all eternity.
Because Medusa basically is now, not only is she the ex-priestess who disrespected her, that she got one up on, she also is now using her as a trophy. She is a trophy case, and she is now, her head is now one of the most powerful weapons in existence. Athena is using her also as a weapon, using her head. I mean, if you couldn't be good as a priestess, you're going to be good as a weapon. I guess that's the way she treats her.
Basically.
Literally.
Basically, that's what happened. I mean, she had this whole thing planned. That's why I told you she's in on it. She's the number one. She should have been number one suspect. Why did we have to put Percy up there? But then again, yeah, Athena is guilty.
Like I said, Percy just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Athena is looking pretty guilty, but then
Manipulative.
yeah, and it is wrong. I find it just wrong that her soldiers in remembrance, in actual, in just her soldiers copying Athena literally wearing us their breastplate. That just feels wrong to
She
me.
gets the
They
credit,
wear it in the
basically.
battle. They acknowledge that she is one of the most, and I think that also probably is what threatens Athena just a little bit. Athena, like I said, is mother of. She is literally just the epitome of a powerful woman,
Yes.
and so having Athena, if you think about it, Medusa with this power, she is technically giving her a run for her money. The fact that it works dead or alive, and the fact that the goddess herself uses her as a weapon, that's saying a lot about the power that she wields. So maybe Athena was threatened by that, but I would not
Maybe.
say that she is the sole person.
Maybe, but it does not stop her from killing her. You know that it's this whole plan she got up here. I told you, she's the one who's behind. She's the mastermind, and for her to get the first and the last laugh, I'm so sorry.
And
The
doesn't she?
background noises. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm so sorry about the background noises. I live in a very weird neighborhood, but yeah, it's the idea of it. It went its whole full circle. Like I thought, what goes around comes around only works when things happen for the better. But I guess it works both ways.
I mean, there's another version of karma. If anybody knows what that other version is,
Please
there's
do.
actually, I think it's like a second. It's another version of karma. Karma is like the good things coming back around, but there's another version where bad things come back around. I can't remember the name of it, and I don't want to be wrong, so I won't bring it up.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I
Please,
feel
if
like
you
that's
know,
what
put it in the chat, or just message us or something like that. But yeah, we need to move on to suspect 4 because we're already like 10 minutes over time. We need to get through this.
Of course. So that brings us. Of course, Athena's looking really guilty right now. But
She does.
hold up, we got to go back to why all of this drama happened in the first place. Athena caused the drama, but there has to be a reason why she was prompted. And with that, we're going to move on to suspect 4, Poseidon.
Of course, we have the guy.
This guys, this is painful.
He's related. He's related to Zeus, by the way. Just so you know.
If you couldn't already tell by his
Yeah.
actions.
He's related to Zeus, by the way. Yeah, he's royalty.
God, yep, God of all the 7 seas, and he controls water. That's a very the fact that he controls a part of Earth. That's very terrifying.
Yeah, like if he doesn't get what he wants, we're getting earthquake, we're getting typhoon, we're getting tsunamis, we're getting all the worst thing on Earth.
Oh yes, and he also has his own offenses. Of course, he's messed with other mortals before, just like his brother. He has a very bad habit of taking things or breaking. He has a take or break mentality. So in many stories, it's been, if I can't have it, nobody can. He has very quick to anger. People there's literally been a mortal. His daughters, I think, lied to him or something like that, saying that this woman was bragging about her kids. And so literally he floods the entire island and then sends a sea monster to finish the job. He's got anger issues. He does. And he's got a track record. And on top of that, I'm not going to say the word, but he, if you understand, or if you don't understand, you should look it up. What gyms? We know gyms as gymnasiums. They're places where we work out. But what a gym was in ancient Greece is.
It's a place where people work out. If you know what I mean, they work out.
No, yeah, I wouldn't even say it's a place where you work out.
No, you work out.
Lots of training takes
separately.
Training of young boys. They were
separately
sent to train young boys into becoming men.
Yes,
and the way in which they did. Huh?
It's work, and then out. It's not workout. It's work and then out. 2 separate words.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that was Greece's best moment. The way they trained boys into men was very
No, it's absolutely toxic in a way. And I mean, and then you have these role models like the gods, like Poseidon and Zeus and all these things. And then it's absolutely toxic. It's absolutely uncalled for.
And I mean,
And
it's not just even like the gods. This is not mythology. Gyms were, I was looking this up, I think, because I remembered seeing it
saying it's
under
role models.
Poseidon stories. It was a real thing that they
Yeah.
did. It was
Yeah,
part of
look it
culture.
up, guys. Look it up. You got to look it up to know. You have to just really go find this for yourself because it's too much to explain right now, anyway. And yeah, I think that out of all of this thing, Poseidon was really, the person who initiated it because he was being petty. That's all it was. He was just being petty. So he wanted to, blatantly disrespect Athena. He just wanted to do that so he can get back at her, so he can stroke his ego a little bit and be like, I did that.
For Athens, yeah, for Athens. And then on top of that, like I said, he's got a pretty bad track record. He's not as bad as Zeus, but he's got a pretty bad track record himself. And like I said, bringing up the gymnasiums, if you don't know about that story, I recommend Overly Sarcastic's Nerites. I think that was his name, Nerites. If you looked up the story of Nerites,
Yes.
Nerites, that's he has a history of also, like I said, take or break. And in this case,
Yep.
it was take and break Medusa, and
He
inadvertently
took
break
it.
her. He took her, but he inadvertently broke her by getting her
Ugh.
cursed, and of course using that power that he has. He actually, in this case, I think actually he's worse than Zeus, because Zeus at least made sure that his
children
fling
are taken
in
care of.
Danae, yeah, his children are taken care of. And his fling in Danae, he made sure that they got to the island of Syracuse
Yeah.
safely. Poseidon literally just takes Medusa and then proceeds to leave. He takes advantage of her and then proceeds to leave. He
Yeah.
doesn't even stand up for her, because, like I said, it would be a lot harder for Athena to fight him than it would be for her to just curse Medusa. And so the fact that he says nothing,
easy.
huh?
It was very easy for her to curse Medusa, in my opinion. And here's the thing: he's definitely guilty, but it's going to be one heck of a case for us to prosecute him.
Yeah, that is actually the sad part of this. And on top of being petty, let me just mention, because you mentioned that he was being petty, he's just mad about not getting Athens. That was a good way to disrespect her. On top of that, let's just also admit that now he gets to locker room talk big time, because he is the only man who has ever had Medusa, and that goes back to treating women as possessions. And she was definitely an item to behold back then, and that's just upsetting. So yeah, he definitely is playing a major part in her murder. But yes, guys, it's using what you said. Did you have anything else to say before we segue into the evidence recap?
I mean, I just really think that Poseidon scurried into this situation thinking that he cannot be punished. And yes, he was not punished. So thinking he can get away, he did get away. Basically, he can do no wrong. And it's a unfair society, and the Patreon should really go to dusk. But yeah. Maybe that's why they collapsed. But okay, we can go to our evidence we need to get through everything that we've investigated and we have worked on and we have researched. Now we can recap and we can give you the verdict. Well, after the recap.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Guys, this is a very dense story. This is a very interesting story. It's a very deep story. And even the way we're doing it now, this is us condensing the story. Yes. There's a lot to this story.
Definitely. And also, I guess one more thing. Alyssa and I put this together during midterm. Like literally, we are sacrificing our sleep. We're sacrificing our energy for this podcast. It is very precious to us. Like, it's absolutely a whole entire brainstorm. Our brain, we're storming it up. So yeah, Alyssa barely got like 3 hours of sleep, and we did this on the week of midterm, and we're on the verge of passing out. So we have to get through every single sentence we wrote. Guys, so it's a little bit lengthy. I'm sorry about that, but we're gonna get it through.
Guys, put an R in the chat for respect for those who have to go through midterms this week. Wow.
Yes, lovely. Yeah, and don't worry, we're wrapping it up right now.
All right, so to our evidence recap, we've gone through all the suspects. We've gotten background on our victim, Medusa. We have talked about the crime scene. Now to our evidence recap. And then with the evidence recap, we will be able to hopefully make a verdict and decide we will be able to close the case and decide who actually done it. So Perseus, first suspect, of course, Perseus, all evidence points to Perseus, literally with hand in head, and well, head in hand. Sorry,
hand in head. Her brain is broken.
my brain is indeed broken. But with head in hand, he is literally on the chopping block for literally murdering her while she was sleeping. Guys, in some stories, it's while she's sleeping, and clever
I call it
tactical
coward.
murder.
I call it coward. I do. Call it whatever you want, but I call it coward.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I call it practical because that's honestly
Okay.
how I believe they should have dealt with monsters. But knowing who Medusa is, I gotta say,
Practical. Like another Tuesday, like, oh, look at the sleeping monster. Let's go slay it.
yeah, I mean,
Okay.
and then
Another day in ancient Greek. Okay.
and then adding to injury to insult, on top of killing Medusa, he brings the head back, and of course, he kills the king, Polydictes, who was after his mom, which the guy was a creep. So I mean, we're not too sad about that. He also ends up killing his grandfather later on in the story, much later on in his story. Like I said, I think I feel so bad for our boy Perseus because I really feel like he was kind of
Triple
in the wrong place.
homicide. Triple homicide.
Yeah, we gotta charge. We probably would end up charging this man with triple homicide.
I'm not a psychopath, by the way. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to sound so happy, but
you really do sound so happy about sending my boyfriend.
I'm not a psychopath. I'm sorry, but like the reason why I'm so happy is like we finally got to the end, and we've been arguing for like the past 2 days. So yeah.
Yeah, we've been going at this, guys, for the past 2 days. I am on Team Perseus, but she does not agree. I think that it was moral ignorance. You know, he didn't really understand what really was going on here. He didn't have the personal connection. He was trying to save his mom. His grandfather is a jerk who he doesn't even know, by the way. He actually doesn't even kill the grandfather on purpose either. He kills the grandfather on accident too. Like, always in the wrong place at the wrong time. So the only person he actually offs purposefully, the only murder that was premeditated was Polydictes. No one else here was killed with intention or with any kind of feeling other than just getting it done.
It felt pretty purposeful when he slayed her head off, but okay.
Oh my gosh.
Let's move on.
Moving on. So we've got that piece of evidence. We got that against her, Perseus, possibly in a triple homicide, possibly in a fit of passion. And then we're moving on to Athena. I would go as far as charging Athena with premeditated murder, accessory to murder. She literally provides the tools to murder Medusa, who she knows personally. So it's premeditated. You didn't just do this on the spot. You knew who she was. You personally dealt with her. I'm also charging her with assault, bystanding, because guys, in case you didn't know, you actually can be charged and prosecuted for bystanding under the Good Samaritan law. So I'm going to try to prosecute her under that.
Under some state, depending on what state.
Depending on what state. That is true. Depending on what state. But I'm also going to charge her with abuse because, oh my gosh.
And she abused that girl to no end. Like, man.
And theft, because she literally doesn't she like absorb some of her powers? She steals her powers.
Not really. She didn't exactly steal it. I mean, Perseus presented it to her. He gave it over willingly. So, yeah, he gave it over willingly, and he was in possession of her head. He could have kept that power to himself, but he decided to, give it to Athena because I guess he believed that Athena would know what to do best with the power because she's a respected goddess.
Not so much in my eyes anymore. I mean, I'm sorry. This story just. All right, so so we've got Athena on a lot right now, and like I said, I'm really going to charge her for just being disappointing to me as a female, as a feminist. That's just upsetting to me. That's really upsetting. But yeah, so of course, her motives include, she probably was threatened by how powerful she became. Later when she actually turned her into a monster, because by all means she was very powerful after she turned her into a monster. Like I said, felt disrespected by her. It's basically the equivalent to the high school trope you know, you're pretty, I hate you. It's a very toxic trope. They usually put it on females in shows, and
Yeah.
it's very sad. And I think a lot of that is just, you know, we're always taught, you know, there's always room for the guys, but the girls, we kind of get scraps, and so we have this mentality. It's a bad mentality of there's never going to be enough for.
It is very bad. It is very bad. Like, and especially directed at women, because they just believe that for some reason women should hate each other for some reason.
It's not a good trope at all. So we've got Athena on all of that, and of course her evidence, of course, is the fact that she literally provides the mirror to Percy to kill her. She literally, it has cursed her. It is not something she is ashamed of. She wears her as a trophy around her neck on her breastplate. So we've got that evidence on her. So far we've got Perseus with the head in hand, Athena with the head around her neck, and a literal mirror. Shield as a mirror in his hand. And moving on, next we have Zeus, Hermes, and the nymphs of Hera. I think we could probably charge them with accessory to murder. They do help out.
We definitely can. We definitely can charge them with that. It is clear as day.
Literally called the Sword of Zeus. I mean, you can't get more on the nose than that.
Yep. Next is Poseidon.
Oh yeah, Poseidon. Yeah. So I mean, jeez. Oh wait, no, didn't you want to say something about Hermes? Because I remember you were real big about pressing my boy Hermes because he provided it. And to that I say, don't shoot the messenger, man. He's just doing his job.
Accessory to murder. If you deliver a killing weapon, you get charged. So yes, you get freaking charged. I don't care what law we're under.
Yeah, okay. All right. I can see that. So with the magical bag, the magical shoes, and of course the Sword of Zeus, we could probably get them on accessory to murder.
Them just for fun. I would just prosecute them just for fun. So they just have to attend court and just sit there for like 3 hours for no reason. I would just do that.
Oh, that's sad.
But yeah, it's not sad.
But you know, as the law goes, sometimes, and this was explained in my legal class too. You know, sometimes it's not even about what's right. It's about how far down the rabbit hole we're really willing to go. But moving on, the last suspect, of course, evidence against him, Poseidon is our last suspect that we're going to talk about in our evidence recap. And wow, I am really sad on this one, guys. We can charge him with rape, battery, assault, but this is very terrifying. There is not very strong evidence to prosecute this man.
The sadness.
I mean, and here's why we say that. Do you wanna kind of go through the reasons?
I do not. Do I have to?
You do.
Okay, so I mean, Poseidon did rape her, but the only person who was in witness to that hates her guts. We have Athena, who was a witness to it, and she hates this woman's guts to the point that she cursed her. And I mean, at that period of time,
who in a backwards fit of rage, she thinks that cursing Medusa makes her big woman on campus. If we have big man, then we got the toxic, we got toxic masculinity, we got the toxic femininity. She thinks this makes her big woman on campus to target her, which obviously that's not how this works. So with that backwards mentality, she's not punishing Poseidon, and she's not gonna
how is anyone gonna prove like rape during this time? Like, it's not like they have any tests or, you know, during this time, unless she had a baby, but she didn't.
I mean, she does have children.
Really. Not really. She didn't have it until she died. When her head got cut off, like a Pegasus and a pig rained from her head or something like that.
Yeah, pigs do fly, guys. There's literally from her blood, when Perseus kills her and drags her head from her bloods, all the snakes of the earth are supposed to have come from Medusa, and then literally Pegasus is born from Medusa's blood, and then up sprouts, I think his name literally means golden child or golden sword or something, and he basically is a flying pig. But I mean, none of those can really be tied to the god of the sea.
We have weak evidence on this one,
and the only other witnesses besides Athena
are I don't know.
It's actually would be her and we put this on the just because we put this on the chart.
Her sisters. Yeah, the Gorgon sister. They stood close to her. They were, of course, they stood close to her. They not protect, but they defended her, their sister Medusa. But all for nothing, the three of them got cursed altogether.
Yeah. Supposedly, in some stories they get cursed. In some stories, they are actually immortal. So they're actually the original monsters, and she just gets turned into one, and she's kind of their adoptive sister. But in some other stories, they actually tried to protect her against Athena and, vouch for her and act as witnesses. And they got cursed too for opening their mouths too wide. So basically, not a lot of strong evidence. No witnesses for Poseidon. No evidence to tie him to her.
I'm so frustrated because of that. We are really trying. We did try to find some. I'm frustrated. If you guys are frustrated, please leave it in a comment. Like, please do. And it's absolutely a dead end with that. But of course, we're gonna try our best to prosecute him anyway. Then of course the verdict is there, but the punishment.
You can't. It's not an issue of not knowing what to charge him on. We know exactly what we want to charge him on, but
exactly.
There's no, and that's a very scary thing about rape victims, and not even just females. Lord help you if you're a dude who's been raped. It's a very, I feel like I'm not an expert in this, but I feel like it's a very witness based process. It's more of a she said, he said, who's going to believe you kind type thing, and that is basically very terrifying to think about that in real life.
Basically,
not even in mythology.
I mean, even in mythology, it's absolutely terrible, to be honest.
So in wrapping it up, the ending, so Poseidon got the woman he wanted, locker room bragging rights, being the only man to ever have possession of our girl. We sadly, it would be a very hard case to try to prosecute him. Athena got Medusa's power, and of course she takes advantage of the woman that she cursed and hurt. Percy is wrong place at the wrong time. He's named the hero of our story, and Zeus is Zeus for once. That's very interesting.
Yep.
All this came from the blood of an innocent woman, of the victim, Medusa. It's not always about the right. Sometimes it's just about what makes an entertaining story. And that is such is life, honestly. We're going to leave a poll. Ending this up and wrapping this up, we're going to leave a poll for you guys. Because we couldn't actually tie a lot of, there were some suspects we couldn't really tie a lot to. Who do you guys think actually killed Medusa? Who is responsible for her murder?
Exactly.
And what punishment do you think they deserved? Is the case truly closed? Should it have been reopened? The court rules in favor of justice for Medusa, but who committed the crime? Who really should be punished here? And speaking of punishments, do you want me to do the announcement? You guys have hung with us till the very end. We're going to put the poll in there for who done it. And you guys can tell us who you think actually murdered her. What punishment do you think they should get? There's a lot of Grecian punishments, a lot of different types that we can go. And speaking of punishments, guys, drum roll, please.
Drum roll, please.
We will be doing Hera come the next. I think we're going to take a little break. So in the next 3 weeks, we will come to you with a brand new Mistresses Behind the Myth on Hera, the do's and don'ts of womanhood.
Oof. Any last word, Alyssa?
All right. We hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you haven't listened to some of our old podcasts, have a good one, mortals.
Have a good one, mortals. Goodbye, everyone. Please stay safe. Don't be like Perseus. I think.
Don't be like any of the people mentioned in the story. That justice for Medusa.
Please do. Justice for Medusa. Start that hashtag. I know Kathy would. All right. Love ya, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.